Hello, Katie.
Hello, teacher.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello, teacher.
Okay, so today we're gonna practice the simple past. Okay, what did you do? Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, let's talk about the activities that you did yesterday and then we move to last weekend. Okay, so Katie first. What did you do yesterday?
I bought
I bought
a pencil at the bookstore.
yesterday.
Yesterday.
I bought a pencil at the bookstore yesterday.
I
Bought.
a pencil at the bookstore yesterday.
Michelle, what did you do yesterday? I visited
my grandma and grandpa yesterday.
Yes, very good. Katie, what did you do yesterday?
I played football in the park yesterday.
Okay, Michelle, what did you do yesterday?
I went to the
Grocery.
grocery store yesterday.
Okay, Katie, what did you do yesterday?
I learned English at
English.
at Kotu Homestay yesterday.
Yes, okay, I learned English at Kotu Homestay yesterday. Okay, and Michelle, how often do you visit your grandma and grandpa? 5 times a year. I visit my
grandma and grandpa 5 times a year.
5 times a year.
5 times a year.
5 times a year. 5 times a year.
5 times a year.
Okay. Katie, do you often go to the bookstore?
I often go to the bookstore 2 times.
Twice a
month.
Twice a month. And what do you usually buy at the bookstore? I usually buy
pen and pencil.
pens and pencil. Okay. And Michelle, do you often go to the grocery store? Like Winmart or Bách Hóa Xanh or Mini Stop?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what do you usually buy at the grocery store?
I buy food and drink.
Food and drinks. Okay. And Katie, do you like playing soccer or football?
No, I don't.
This is for boy, not for girls. So what sport do you play?
I play badminton.
Okay. And how often do you play badminton?
I play badminton twice a week.
Twice a week. Okay, very good. And Michelle, did you learn English at Kotu Homestay yesterday?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do, or yes, I did?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And how often do you learn English at Kotu Homestay? How often? I
often learn English.
English
And go to homestay twice a week.
twice a week. Can you remove your hands? I want to see your mouth when you speak English. Are you Conan? Are you Conan? Okay, so can you say again? I learn English at Kotu Homestay twice a week.
I learn English. At Kotu Homestay twice a week.
Twice.
Twice a week.
Okay, twice a week. And let's move to last weekend. Katie, what did you do last weekend?
I went picnic with my family.
Yes. Michelle, what did you do last weekend? I read
comic book.
a comic book. I read a comic book
I read a comic book in my room
last weekend.
last weekend.
Okay, Katie, what did you do last weekend?
I met my best
I met
I met my best friend in the coffee shop last weekend.
Yes, very good. Michelle, what did you do last weekend?
I ate sushi at the restaurant last weekend.
Okay. Katie, what did you do last weekend?
I watched movie at the cinema last weekend.
Okay, Michelle. Do you often go picnic with your family or with your friends? Both. Okay. And how often do you go picnic? I go picnic once a year. Once a year. Once a year. Once a year. Twice a year. 3 times a year. Okay. And where do you go picnic? At the park or at the beach or in the mountain?
At the beach.
Okay. And Katie, do you like reading comic books?
Yes, I do.
Why do you like it?
Because it's interesting and
Fun? Is it fun?
yes.
Yes. It makes you feel relaxed. Okay. And where do you usually read a comic book?
I usually read a comic book in the library or in my room.
Okay. Do you usually meet your best friend at a coffee shop, Michelle?
No, I don't.
So where do you usually meet your best friend? I meet my best friend
I meet my best friend at home.
at home or at school? Yes. And where else?
At home.
And home. Okay. Katie, do you usually eat sushi or at the restaurant?
Yes, I do.
How often do you go to the Japanese restaurant?
I often go to the Chinese twice a month.
Yes. Okay. And Michelle, do you often go to the cinema?
Yes, I do.
What movies do you like?
I like Doraemon and
You like cartoon?
yes,
Cartoon. What else?
and Conan movies.
So only cartoon or animation? How about horror movies? No. Why not? Why not horror movie? Is it scary or you feel scared?
It's scary.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.